All right, this last little bit in the series is going to just be some more advanced variations, and I've touched on this before, but I think it's good to have a sound program. Consistency is key, so squats, deadlifts for the lower body, pushes and pulls for the upper body, and these different sorts of core movements, rotation, anti-extension, some postural stuff, add some sprints in. I think you've got a great program there. That being said, for more mental than physical, but I think just to add a little variety, spice it up for both you, but more importantly for your clients, for member retention, things like that. You've got to add some variety to keep things fresh. So these are some spin-offs of some of the foundational movements that we've covered. This first one is seal walk, and I'm just going to show or talk about some ways to kind of make them more advanced. Now, please keep in mind that these are advanced, so they're just for those clients that have the capability of performing these. Rule number one with coaching and with training is safety first, do no harm. So these aren't going to be appropriate for all of your clients by any means, but for some of those savages that want that extra push, or for some of your clients that are been working hard and ready for the next level, then here are a couple of fun variations. So this seal walk variation is basically the same setup as the seal walk that we've covered before. Feet on some sort of slider, that push-up position, hands turned out slightly, but we're going to remove one slider and have one leg off the ground. So it's just a one-leg seal walk. Okay, so I'll demo that. So this one advanced for a number of reasons. Obviously we have one less base of support, foot's off the ground, but when we have that foot off the ground, we not only have the anti-extension, but now we've got a rotary stability component. We don't want to drop the hip. Ideally, as I'm walking, I'm trying to keep my hips level the whole time and not have a bunch of dipping and sagging going on. There's going to be some movement, but I want to try to control it as best I can. So I always have them start in the push-up. When they're ready, brace that core, lift the foot, and then we're walking. This next seal walk variation, there's two more. I'm going to show one, I'll just explain the other one. The one that I'm just going to explain is basically a traditional seal walk weighted. So you could do that a couple of ways. You could put a vest on, and a weight vest on. So I don't think I really need to demonstrate that. You get the idea. The other version would be if you had some sort of weight belt, or even a TRX around the waist, and attach something behind you. So what we typically do is we have chains that we use, so drag a chain behind you that's wrapped around, supported around the waist, a heavy rope behind you, even though those aren't nearly as heavy as the chains, but just that little extra load. We have a tail, if you will. When you get that seal walk going and you're dragging that extra load behind you, that's going to definitely provide a bit more of a challenge. But the variation I wanted to show, and I wanted to show it because it's a little bit more intricate as far as getting into position, is a banded seal walk. So it's a traditional seal walk, it's resisted in the sense that we've got a band here. So the best way to get into the position, I've got asked this before, is you start standing, and I'm going to put the band, step onto the band, right in the middle of my feet. Okay, so half my foot's in front of the band, half's in back. And then I'm going to step right on to the slider, and when I step on, I like half my foot to cover the slider, and still half left. So when I go into the seal walk position, the balls of my feet are right in the middle of the slider. Okay. So now I'm going to go down. I've got the band. You can put it a couple different ways. Right around the wrist is probably the best spot, so I like it right there. Okay. So now I've got pressure, and basically I've created a square rectangle with the band. All right. So now when I go into position, the band is in the middle of my feet. Okay, the balls of my feet are on the sliders, right where they belong. And when I start walking, so every time I extend my arms out, I've got the resistance from the band, obviously pulling me back in. So this one I love, use this a lot with my MMA clients because I wanted to involve a lot of core control, but also challenge their shoulders. Those guys had have tons of shoulder issues. So if we could, once we got some mobility in the shoulders, I wanted to build some stability upon that new range of motion. So to do that with exercises like this that required core control but still strengthen the stability of the shoulders, this was one of my go-tos. So basically, here's the exercise here. You guys are all familiar with the seal walk now, but you can see the extra challenge with the band. This advanced variation of a pike exercise, we've gone over the pikes with the sliders earlier. You can do them with the TRX, of course. You can do them with a stability ball as well. I like this version of the pike with the ball, because we're going to include a bit of a body saw movement into it as well. So it's a bit longer of an exercise as far as actual length, but it's going to incorporate a lot more muscles, a lot of lat engagement as I'm going to pull myself back up into that pike position, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is, again, you could say sagittal plane, a lot of anti-extension, especially as I extend back into that body saw position. So it's, if we were to put it in one of the categories we've covered, it fits into a few categories. And that's one reason I kind of like it. It's another reason it's a bit more advanced. Okay, so I have people start here, kind of on the knees. And this exercise right here, this itself, just walking out, which I'll show right now, is an exercise in and of itself for folks that I give. So just walking someone out, you know, if they were going to go maybe do just a pike or a push-up position on the ball. So just walking the hands out is an exercise. So depending, I'm going to walk back to the start here. So depending on the client, that may be all they're doing for today. Obviously, the further out you go, the harder it's going to be. So I usually gauge the challenge and monitor progress on where the ball ends up. So when I walk out, I'll do one more. If I go out to just the thighs, okay, that's one. Okay, bring it to the knees now, week two, maybe to the shins. And then, of course, if I bring it all the way out to the toes, that's going to be much more challenging because I've got a much longer lever, okay? So that's just one little side note, but that's a great core challenge, great shoulder stability exercise as well. So back to this, call it body saw into a pike exercise here. So I'm going to walk back out. I'm going to walk out to about the knees or just maybe a little lower to put the shin position. Okay, so hand walk out. I'm going to stop right about here. Okay, so I'm getting that push-up position. We want to watch for the extension of the lumbar. Okay, we want a relatively neutral spine here. Okay, so I don't want my head down or looking up like this, cranking on that cervical spine. So I start the movement by driving my body back. Okay, so I'm pushing through the hands, driving back. When I extend back, again, we don't want to go into that anterior tilt. So I want to keep the abs engaged. So I drive back. Okay, when I come back forward, I'm going to keep the legs straight, lift the hips up nice and high, right up under the balls, or under the front of the foot with the ball. So here's the exercise real time. Okay, and I just want to note that we could just go into the pike, so we don't have to add that body saw position. So if I walk out a little bit further, this in and of itself is a great exercise, here to here. Okay, so by adding that body saw movement first, I'm really, you can see my body shaking, really challenging the abs and the whole upper body there. This next advanced option is going to be an advanced variation of the hanging exercises. So we covered the two that I do the most and that I really like with clients, the knee variations and the straight leg variations. This one is definitely advanced, really just the top 1 or 2% of your clientele you might offer this to. It's an inverted windshield wiper exercise. And I like this inverted position, just that alone, before we even get involved in any movements, is a great kind of advanced beginner exercise before we get into some gymnastic type movements, front levers, back levers, the skin the cat exercise where you actually go all the way around. I'm not going to show those in this video series, but I will show kind of two. Just the inverted hold, which is great for core control, great for grip strength, and then I'll show a couple of the windshield wipers. So we'll just cover those two, because again, the other ones are really challenging and really more advanced for another video series down the line. So the setup first for this first option, again, you just need a pull-up bar, something sturdy, or a big rig like this obviously works perfectly. Different hand positions are great. If you have a neutral grip, personally I actually prefer a neutral grip position. okay, where palms are facing each other. But a traditional bar works as well, which I'll demo here. So the first one I'm just going to show just getting into an inverted position and just holding. And again, this is kind of a beginner progression before you get into some of those advanced gymnastic type holds. So from here, and again, I covered this with some of the hanging exercises. Whenever we're hanging, we don't want to lose that shoulder integrity. We want to keep the lats active, keep the backside muscles active to protect the shoulder joint. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to demo first, and then I'll come back down, come up. So literally just hanging here is an option. Okay, we can start to lower down, and then I could go back up. When any of these exercises, when you're going up, if I were to keep going all the way around, that's the skin the cat option. If I were to go back out with legs straight from upside down, or if I spin around and extend the legs, that's the front lever, back lever options, those gymnastics moves. But when we're there in that position, I want to try to keep my knees tight to my body. So if I go up and I'm here, it's really hard for me to hold. So really, you want to kind of create a ball. Keep those knees close to the chest the whole time. So I don't want my knees out here. I want them in tight to the body, okay? Feel it a lot more in those abs. It might be a little bit harder on the abs, but it's obviously much more effective. So the windshield wiper exercise, we're going to go back into that inverted position. I'm going to extend the legs straight out, and then I'm going to, under control, hopefully, bring the legs side to side under control. So this is big time rotational exercise. So we are getting rotation, okay, but I'm trying to control it. So I don't want to call it an anti-rotation because we are moving, but I'm trying to control the rotation. So I'm just not letting my legs fly down to the side, back and forth all willy-nilly. I'm trying to control it, just bring it to a certain range, and then control it all the way back and controlled. So I bring up that word control a lot, but I think it's a really important movement or term when we're discussing these sorts of exercises. Okay, so I'm just going to show a couple reps of this one. This next variation, I'm calling it advanced, but really it's not necessarily advanced. The slosh pipe variation I'm calling just advanced because it's a bit of a unique piece of equipment. Not many people have it. We're finding here at the facility that it's a lot more versatile than we initially thought. So it's something to consider if you've never used a slosh pipe. If you're not even familiar, I should back up a second. Basically, we just go to Home Depot, spend about $20, and you've got a great piece of fitness equipment. This one is 8 feet long. We put some water in it, put some end caps on it, and you're done. So piece of tubing and a couple of end caps, literally it was less than $18 or $20. We have about 40 pounds of water in this one. You can get different shapes and sizes at different facilities. I've used different shapes and sizes, but the 8-footer seems to work out pretty well for the different exercises that we do with it. Simply holding on to it, going for a walk, either in that Zercher position, squat position, is a tremendous core challenge. The exercise I'm going to show here is the knee stand, so going from a kneeling position up to a standing position. With a slosh pipe, it's a game changer, just with that, obviously trying to control that dynamic shifting of the water. So there's that option, or a sandbag option that we do as well. Okay, so the sandbag option, the sand obviously doesn't move quite as much as the water. So I would probably start folks here first, especially these are a bit more common than the slosh pipes, but I would definitely consider getting a slosh pipe. You could also do this exercise with kettlebells in a rack position. Another great option is to do a bottoms up, so a much lighter kettlebell, 8 kilo, maybe up to 12, but holding them bottoms up, so you grabbing the handles, but the bottoms are facing the ceiling, and doing this from a kneeling to a standing position. Again, I'm going to show two options that I like a lot. The sandbag option first. So we get them up here, and you can kind of cheat a bit if you keep that weight, the bag, resting against the body. But if I just extend my elbows a little bit and try to keep the bag off my body, elbows up to a 90 degrees so they're not down here. But if I extend up, and all we're doing is going up to a standing position, then back down under control, which is the key, of course, with all these, to a kneeling. So standing to kneeling, the bag is not touching my body, and I'm trying to keep my elbows at about a 90-degree position. So this bag's about 45 pounds. Again, here, it doesn't have to be super heavy. I get a lot of core engagement, a lot of lat activities, just a lot of what is really considered the core, those muscles that surround and support the spine. Okay, so that's one great option. Where I would put that in in a circuit, we would do a couple of lower body movements, say a set of deadlifts, set of squats, upper body movement, and then the third movement, consider it like an active rest, if you will, where we kind of really fire up that core before we go back to our more foundational lifts, compound movements. So a great way, instead of having a client sit there and do nothing, check their phone, flip through a magazine, have them do something a little bit more constructive during their quote-unquote rest time, where they're doing some mobility work, or get them a core exercise like a knee stand with some bottoms-up kettlebells, or the sandbag is much more effective and efficient use of their time. So that's one option with the bag, and we'll finish the knee stand variations with this guy. Try to get in the middle somewhat of this. And what I like to do for the knee stand is, again, this Zercher position. So most of you are probably familiar with a Zercher squat, where you've got the bar resting in the crooks of the elbows. So you can see just now I'm already trying to control that weight. We're shooting this live, so it'll make it a little bit hairy here. We'll see how it goes. So again, now this one I keep tight to the body. And again, same exercise. We're going up on the knee, standing position, back down, again, under control, the knees. And what I would typically do is just make sure you keep balanced as far as your repetitions go too. So if I go up on the right leg, I'm going to go up on the right leg 4 times, down on the left leg 4 times, then I reverse it. So I go up on the left leg 4, down on the right 4. However you want to do it, however you want to do it with your clients is fine. Just make sure you have some consistency and don't always have them go up on their dominant side.